Okay, today we're going to talk about solving quadratics with any method and trying to figure out what is the best method and how we are going to figure this out. So what I want you to do is please write down that homework tonight is packet page 39, and what I want you to do on page 39 is to solve it with any two methods you'd like. So here we go. The first thing we're going to do is take a quick look at last night's homework, page 32. I've got the answers here. You can see like this one I factored, this one I used the table, quadratic formula. Some of my graphs, I'm not a huge fan of graphing because it's kind of hard to see. Here I use square roots. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn to page 34 and I want you to write down the equation I wrote down. Okay, so we have a bunch of different methods here and I want to use at least two methods. When I see an equation written like this where I have something in parentheses squared, I know that probably what I'm going to be doing is the square root method. That's kind of a clue. If it was written in standard form like x squared plus 3x plus 2, I would not use square roots. Whenever I have something in parentheses like this squared, square roots it is. So let's try it. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. X minus 3 squared minus 16 equals 0. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate what's being squared. So we're going to add 16 to both sides. And that's going to give us x minus 3 squared equals 16. Now we're going to take the square root of both sides and I'm going to split it into two equations. So I'm going to have x minus 3 equals 4 and x minus 3 equals negative 4 because it could have been plus or minus 4. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to add 3 over here. And that's going to give me x equals 7. And I'm going to add 3 over here. And that's going to give me x equals negative 1. Now I got my solutions. I do want you to try it another way. So what you could do is you could go grab your calculator, go to y equals, and in y equals type in, instead of 0, we're going to type in what we're solving equal to 0. So type in x minus 3 squared minus 16. And then I'm going to go look at my graph. And if you look at if you type that in y equals and you hit graph, you'll see that it's going to cross the x-axis perfectly at negative 1 and at 7. And it'll look like this. So that's two methods. I want to do one more problem with you. So whenever I turn to page 35, and I want you to write down the equation in the box for number 2. Alright, now if I'm going to solve this using any of our methods, the first thing I have to do is get it equal to 0. So we're all going to add 8 to both sides. Now none of these are like terms, so it's just going to be x squared plus 5x plus 8 equals 0. The first thing I'm going to try to do is factor this. So, what adds to 5 and multiplies to 8? Let's see, what multiplies to 8? 2 times 4 and 1 times 8. Do any of those add to 5? No. So let's try the quadratic formula. Maybe it's a decimal situation. So if we're going to use the quadratic formula, we know A is 1, B is 5, C is 8. So I'm going to actually use the area over here from square because I'm going to run out of room otherwise. So here we go. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared, which happens to be 25, minus 4AC all over 2a. So if I do this, I get negative 5 plus or minus 25 minus 32 is negative 7 over 2. Now, I can't take the square root of negative 7. Try it on your calculator. Go ahead and try it. tells you no solution. So I can't take the square roots. This tells me I have no solutions. Just for fun, on your graph, type it, go into y equals and type in x squared plus 5x plus 8. Look at the graph. So you know what? What do you notice about the graph? The graph does not actually touch the x-axis. There it goes. So there you go. I mean, like you see, it never touches 0. So the answer to this problem is no solution. Now, what I would like you to do is we're going to fill in the equations for the next ones. So, on page 36, I want you to write down x squared plus 16 equals 8x. On page 37, I want you to write down 2x squared minus 9x minus 5 equals 0. And the last one on page 38, I want you to write down 2x squared minus 2x minus 12 equals 0. Page 39 is your homework. What I want you to do is I want you to work on these 3 problems. I want you to solve them. And I want you to use 2 methods. So even if you solve it using the first method, you're going to solve it again.